Hey, what is up, everybody? Hunter Orrell here, and we're back with another great interview after a slight hiatus. Today, we're joined with Josh Ong, who is not only on the Bored Ape Yacht Club Council, but he is also one of the members of Boardroom Ventures and an active participant among all things Bored Ape Yacht Club, as you'll come to find. We talk a lot about the venture capital industry and market, what he's seen, what he likes, ways that he likes companies approaching marketing and growth. And because he advises as well on top of his venture side and actively being a trader, you get a really good understanding for what he thinks companies should be doing and how they should be approaching onboarding, growth, IP, and even token launches. We get into that a bit. If you're interested in AI, we touch into that. And honestly, it's a really good general approach on how Josh is seeing the market as an experienced participant. Um, this is awesome because this is our 4-year anniversary of the first interview I ever did on stream highlighting Bored Ape Yacht Club members. So if you want to go check that out, you can search on YouTube Hunter Orrell Josh Ong, and you can see how much I have aged in the last 4 years. As always, thank you for tuning in and watching these interviews. It means the world to me. And without any further ado, here's Josh Ong. All right, we are back with interviews this week. This time joined with Josh Ong, who we were just saying was my first guest that I ever had on for an interview back in 2021. It's been a minute, but I'm excited to chat because since the last time we've talked, Josh went from just being a Bored Ape Yacht Club owner. I think it's 1,037 if I recall correctly. Um, to being one of Bored Ape Yacht Club's most, I would say, integrated members. I mean, like you're on the council, you are overseeing boardroom ventures, you are actively helping with them market and roll out new things. So, uh, it's cool to have seen over the last 4 years everything you've done, and possibly just kind of catch up and also talk about what's new to come from you in 2025.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's good to be back.
Nothing's changed. No, I was gonna pull up the photo of us, but we both I look like a child. A lot has changed since the last time you've been on. It's
It's funny.
I gotta show it. It's too funny. I mean, look at this. We we haven't aged a second.
Look at these summer children.
I know. I'm starting to get like white hair and stuff. I look so young, innocent. It's it's
That's
crazy.
right. I'm in the same room. We still have the same piece of art up. But
I'm no longer in Virginia. I'm gone. I'm out of
all right,
Virginia. Um, Look, I think the best way to start is, you have uh, a very experienced past 4 years, but catching up to what you're doing today, who you are, and why people should possibly be watching what you're up to and taking a look at who you're advising and what you're investing in.
sweet. Yeah, I mean, it was a fun fun ride in the early that bull market, and then obviously it's been a long bear, and who knows what we're in right now? Is are we going back down? Are we going up? Who knows? But I took my Web 2 marketing experience and just brought that over into Web 3 kind of after we chatted, and whether that was like building communities or helping Web 2 brands think about trying to enter the space back in the day, and then helping Web 3 native projects go to market and grow. Had to adapt, and so the teams evolved, the models have evolved, but I think my interest in this space still is as passionate as it was before. Certainly, like a couple more gray hairs and a few more knocks, but round tripped a few things along the way as we all have. But I was excited because I felt like um, we'll call it Web 3 or on chain, whatever. Like could bring some more power to the people. And yeah, we've seen all sorts of good and bad things roll out, and certainly some experiments that have failed. But I think along the way, like hopefully, we're still trying to find, yeah, like how this tech can be used to organize like collective action, and in the case of like almost like community driven brands and this kind of like shared ownership of um, a common goal or trying to accomplish something. So that's still there. Obviously, like the casino opens and closes and up and down, and so I think I see a lot of disillusionment from OGs who are like some people came here for the tech and the art or whatever, and like there's lots of people here for the money, and I get that, and it's you can't really ignore that. Um, but yeah, that's really been the central thesis, whether it was doing some investing on the kind of angel or venture side, whether it's been advising, anything from brands or companies, and then working with communities like BAYC, which is, one that I've been very close to the last few years.
It's it has changed dramatically from the early days when we were talking from especially the art side. I don't hear that argument at all almost on the timeline of, originally Bored Ape Yacht Club wasn't real art and people, didn't hold it to the highest standard that they might have held art blocks or what was coming out of, super rare to an extent. Um, and that all seems like a narrative of the past. Now it is, well, how high can Bored Ape Yacht Club pump from here? Like it really
Mm.
has shifted to a financial side. I agree with that. Um, one thing you mentioned there that is super interesting is Bored Ape Yacht Club, from a governance standpoint, has been at the forefront of figuring out what works and what doesn't work. And there's bumps and holes in the road that you're gonna hit. What I think, what is your takeaway from what Bored Ape Yacht Club is trying to do, and Ape Chain specifically as well, from like a government's perspective of the IP and I think the brand overall?
Yeah, I mean, lots of learnings there. I remember in the early days, like it was like Peter Fang and I were talking to Gordon Garga, a couple of the BOIC founders, about setting up like a community council. And they were like, "Well, we have something coming, but we can't talk about it. But that may be a way for the community to be involved." And that ended up being, ApeCoin and the DAO. And after that launch, we started talking more about like the differentiation between, say, the community council, which is very much on the club side, and then you had, another council that was, helping the DAO get off the ground, and then that took its own path. And so even those early days, we were just trying to figure out like, okay, you have the club, you have that membership, you have a community of holders who are just trying to figure out, you know, what is this thing that none of us have ever done before, been part of? Like, how do we participate in it and get value out of it? And then also, there was the DAO experiment, which was, um, kind of early at the time as far as NFTs with tokens and that decentralized governance there. Um, I'm excited to see what's been built on Ape Chain and how it's rolling out. I think certainly there have been plenty of challenges on the governance side over there, which I'm not as directly involved in, but try and stay active on and support the community um, by just paying attention to what's going on with the DAO. Um, and I think you guys. I don't know if this is like a regulatory thing. I can't speak for them, but I do think that as as they've gotten kind of more clarity, they've gotten more involved, and I think that really changed with Ape Chain, where they said, "Okay, we're going to support this, we're get behind this." And so, examples are like the Banana Bill Ecosystem Fund, and then recently, Yuga started voting, and then they delegated some of their ApeCoin to Made by Apes holders, who are people building businesses within the BOIC community and
We've seen a ton
using
of
the
those. I mean,
yeah.
that was like the first IP that we saw actively get used in this space. Pudgy Penguins with Overpass and some of their
Mhm.
initiatives have really taken off, but Ape Water, a good example of an early brand.
Yeah.
Bored and Hungry out in Long Beach, California. We've seen so many. Is that starting to accelerate in your eyes from under the Yuga brand?
Yeah, I mean, um, you have to be realistic, which is like just because you're building around BOICIP doesn't make your brand magic. Um, so it requires like strong builders and strong business ideas. What you do get is like a remarkable community to support it. And we saw that, say, like Ape Fest in Lisbon last year, where there was like a pop up where you could go and see all the NBA brands. They had like, part of the main HQ had a bunch of the products out, and like a vending machine. We can get the board brewing, vape beer, and stuff like that. So you will get that support, and then there's also other resources. I think they just launched like a Shopify um, partnership or something, and then like an open campus, like, education piece, um, and even like a mini store. And so there's like, and then there have been like all MBA sessions. I can tell my dad I never got an MBA, but I have at least the made by apes. Um, but that you have made by ape sessions in the Discord, where they you talk to like some of the top lawyers that they're working with, and brand builders. Mastercard came in and did a session. So there's like resources, there's opportunities, and then there's that community support. So yeah, I'm really hopeful that some of these really great MBA brands can emerge and succeed, and do well. There was like, jerky and seltzers, and
Yep.
vodkas, and whiskeys and all that. So tons of
Jules.
fun
There
stuff.
was a little bit of everything.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Um,
had my ape on all sorts of stuff. But some of it was not authorized, some of it was, and it's IP is an interesting experiment, and I think like we're seeing Story Protocol with their chain that's meant to be kind of like monetize tokenized IP. They've been running after their airdrop, and I think we'll see some really cool, whether it's AI driven IPs or just other ways to put IP on chain. We're going to see that, um, continue to be a narrative. I think it's not exactly clear what it is. How IP and blockchain and NFTs and how they all tie together. Like that's something that I think is still emergent. We've had a few years to experiment with it and learn, but it's still in process.
yeah. Now you are very active on the venture side, and the advisory side as well. You as a personal venture investor, and then also your involvement with Boardroom Ventures. Um, I'd love to get into that a little bit more, but even on the topic of IP, I know some of your investments do lean into, leveraging their own IP, to build their own moats. Any that you want to highlight there? Good examples, unique cases, and then we could dive into the whole
Sure.
venture vertical.
Yeah, I mean, some of our portfolio, Border Ventures invested in Pudgy Penguins in their seed round, so we're really thankful to have connected with Luca and really been inspired by his story, and put some capital behind that. We believe in G Money and 90cc, so we're small angel investors in that. Um, and it's great to see kind of how far he's come and be part of
Yep, I'm wearing the
the
hoodie.
yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, I hit the red one too. So I should have put it on. I didn't get the memo, but
I've got the whole I have the
oh
whole
yeah, you've
desk
got.
the whole desk right now is just, boardroom
There you go.
venture investments apparently.
Yeah, you're supporting the portfolio. Thank you. Um, yeah, and then we also invested in 6079, which is an AI company that we're really excited about and been supporting. So um, yeah, that's just really looking into kind of how crypto can really help the open source AI movement, by incentivizing some of the opportunities there, and kind of piecing together all the different parts of the stack to be performant and competitive with um, some of the other closed source options out there. So that's been a fun adventure, just to kind of try and stay up on what is coming next. But But yeah, it's we had actually originally planned. I forget if we were talking about this, probably not on that first show, but we planned to do a lot more kind of on chain as a fund, and so more like NFT assets, and we still hold a lot of those. But yeah, in the bear market, it was a lot more kind of equity and token warrant opportunities, and so we took some of those. We do have some, you know, coin like token only deals that we did as well.
Right.
But everyone was just trying to like survive and kind of fun to make it through what was next, and so that's kind of been somewhat of a path. But yeah, goal is back kind of founders and ideas that we believe in and are excited about that kind of match our thesis for kind of how the world comes on chain and what that means for things like IP, what it means for communities and gaming and AI and things like that. So
Are you
it's
guys
it
are you guys still actively investing right now? Like there's still an ongoing fund.
yeah, I mean we didn't end up raising from LPs, and so we are investing, but it is much more closer to like an angel or kind of a personal fund, just because um, we took so long working on the legal framework for like
Which is
an
brutal.
NFT hedge fund that like market crashed. We were like we're in New York, so we're like, okay, we're not gonna get bit license, whatever. Um, and so we are like, all right, we're not taking money from other people. That just doesn't make sense. So we kind of committed our own resources and we're able to that's what we've been deploying up to now. Well, I still do deals. Just put into like an AVAX pre-sale today and did an AI deal last week. But like part of it is like with the a lot of these deals naturally are kind of long term, and so there's some that we're waiting on to mature and invest, and hopefully as those start to unlock, we'll have more to deploy in the future as well.
Yeah, the venture market I think for many is misunderstood as this, write a check and all of a sudden you're up 10x because you got into something early.
Right.
When many times that is a year, 3 years, possibly even longer out. I know people who wrote checks back in 2021 who are, they rode the wave down and the company
Yeah.
still survived, but they're like, "Oh, I can't wait to get my investment back to even, or if I could just get my money out, I'd be happy with it."
Right.
It is a treacherous and I think a lot of people make it up to be this glitzy glamory thing that not every time is. And in the bear market, as you said, it is very different than a bull market. To invest, and we even see
Yeah.
that now. I think uh the last few months, valuations very high, things were getting exciting. There's lots of money flowing around. And, if you were to ask me, and I'm curious in your take here, the next few months, if we are in a kind of a downturn, we're taking a breather, the venture market does get, the valuations come down, but it's not as like, you don't have 10 decks coming across your desk every day.
Yeah. I mean, there are waves to it, and the valuations do just tend to kind of get ahead of themselves. And I'm certainly guilty of like putting in on some deals where, um, in retrospect, they will have been kind of overpriced for like the excitement around the moment, and whether that was NFT communities or um, AI and things like that. So part of it depends, obviously, on just like anything, how early you are.
Right.
But if you're kind of like catching the back end of a wave, chances are you're going to get in these like crazy rounds that are like oversubscribed, but like um, overpriced too. And that doesn't invalidate the opportunity and the technology. It just means sometimes um, someone put it like a really great way, but it's like sometimes. Um, Pricing runs ahead of the adoption, and then there has to be a correction there. So that's something that like is as an investor, you just have to find a level head there, which is like, hey, we were excited about this. This is a great opportunity, but maybe that you know someone's bidding it up, and shoot, that's going to get kind of out of control, and who knows, like maybe it is overpriced, but then like the real opportunity down the road years from now is still like, magnitudes larger than, whatever it was in that opportunity. But there's a ton of risk. And I think it's good to have long horizons. there was a period, probably like 21, early 22, where like VCs were just kind of like, give me the token, right? Um, and so there was like it was just so easy for them to push their portfolio companies to launch a token, for them to quickly vest it and then be able to like recapitalize and move on. That's not, obviously going to make, great long-term businesses, and that's all, I think, always a challenge for um, the combination of say builders and investors to kind of work out those
Yeah.
horizons.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It sounds like you're pretty excited about the AI sector from just kind of listening to you. I mean, obviously that's an easy one to default back on, and the venture market for AI is still very hot, even though a lot of valuations are down.
Yeah.
Um, but I have to ask, like, for you, what do you see the most like the biggest winner possibly being within AI? It sounds like you already made one, and I'm not familiar with the company
Yeah,
60609
6079. Yeah.
6079.
I mean, I'm excited about them, and we invested and advised. I would say, um, keep an eye on Wayfinder, and that's from the Parallel team. They built
Yep.
this kind of on-chain agent that's able to, do these like cross-chain pathways where you can kind of like converse with it, and it'll, transact for you. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Hollow World team, and so I hold Ava, and I'm supporting them as kind of they've got their launch pad, and I think Ava's a lot of fun. She's built to kind of like psyop, social engineer everyone on Twitter, and she's got a fun personality. But yeah, I mean, there's been some. I mean, obviously, like the tokens ran up and down, and that was like a kind of quick meta. Um, and I get the criticism where people are like, okay, it's like 100 million for a Chat GPT wrapper. Like that is, um, there is something irrational there. I think just bigger picture for me. I think the world after artificial intelligence is going to be a very different world. It's going to have an impact in almost every and so many different aspects of our lives and so many different industries. Um, and to me, like AI is as dumb as it'll ever be today. And I'm sure you've heard that before, but like it's only going to get better, right, with the right tools, and even as it starts to learn recursively on itself. And so, I think it's just hard to really imagine. Um, okay, what's going to change? But I feel pretty confident that things are going to change, and obviously the job for all of us is like pick the winners and pick them early, but and then have
Do you
conviction.
do you have one that like do you have a few that like you are like I mean, obviously you've just named some, but like are you invested in those as tokens? Like are those your highest conviction bets in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like a decent chunk of my portfolio is AI tokens, and part of that is like I got in early enough that things ran, so that they grew, and then I think it'll be interesting to see plenty of other portfolio companies that I have like are also going to be experimenting with AI, and have that as a
And not
piece
in the
to it.
traditional sense either. I know you're an advisor for many companies as well. Some of those companies leveraging AI. And we've seen this on the IP side even. Doodles even hinted at it when I was in Paris with them, saying, "Hey, we're not only using AI for our creative process, but we're looking into it on the experiential side as well." And we
Mm,
haven't seen really what that looks like from anybody. Um, but a lot of people are just sitting on IP that all of a sudden becomes activated when you can put AI and make it do something, say something, have a personality.
yeah.
Um, and that gets me excited from an innovation point of hey, where there's new stuff coming out every day, not only in AI, but how do we apply that to crypto projects and Web3 projects?
hmm Yeah, I know Futureverse is looking into that very closely, and they have some great IP. tied to that as well as some patents, and so they're relaunching.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
they're relaunching their altered state token um, with one of our portfolio companies as as a think token coming up, and that'll be like an agent marketplace. Oni Force, like Star Lordy over there has some really great kind of IP relationships, and they have some really incredible art and IP as well with their collections, and so they're really exploring that. I think the smarter these LLMs get, when you load them with IP, they're just going to be so immersive with like your ability to interact and chat or play with or engage with um, characters that you've come to know and love, that you create yourself or together, um, and brands that are out there um, that you want to connect with. So it's gonna be super interesting. I think there'll be um, maybe the way that AI does it is it like supercharges things, and so hopefully the best IPs win, um, but it will be also like there's such an emotional connection we have with intellectual property and characters and stories, and so it'll be taking those, but then making them come alive in ways that you couldn't even imagine through training and AI and some of these modules. So, and then how do we make it kind of ownable or rentable? How do we put it on chain and preserve it? And how do we trade it? It's gonna be interesting.
It gets really weird really quickly. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about some of the most dramatically changing and disruptive technologies that we have ever had come to our hands and our keyboards, and they're all merging together. It's we've had other technologies that have kind of run their own parallel paths, and they haven't impacted each other, but they're disrupting different areas of our lives. But blockchain and AI seems like this perfect combo. And then you throw IP, it gets very crazy very quickly.
Yeah.
When people start talking about like, oh yes, I can rent my PFP that has a personality and you can use it in a video game and I make money off of this. Or I could go, get a loan off of that and then use that loan to go loop in a DeFi protocol. It
It's
just gets
crazy.
crazy, right? Like, um, but that's the fun of it. You never know what's gonna come next. Part of that fun that you get to see, not only on the investing side, is on the advisory side. I know you're an advisor for Wanderers, advisor for what is it, Sorcery. I'm sure there's a long list of people
Mm,
that you are advising for. You are deemed as a very smart person and experienced person, and that is why these projects want you. Um, can you walk me through, like, the advisory side, and how who else you're advising for and how that approach for you is? Because
sure.
I think yeah, we can just jump there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I modeled my kind of advisory practice somewhat after like kind of a like classic startup operator model, which is like often you have, say, like shares that you're earning over the course of a year or two, and then you're contributing in a really specialized way. Um, you know, for me, like historically, a lot of the areas where I've been specialized for those projects are one, when we think about go to market, which is like anything from, say, like you've built this product, and as you're building it, how do we just take this out to launch? And that could be it's multi-channel marketing, it's communications, it's um, project management to kind of like piece it all together and say we've got to get this out in people's hands and get people excited about it. Um, and then in a lot of cases it's like Web3 knowledge. So just whether it's as a practitioner from collector, investor, and someone who just tries to stay up on what's going on, and a creator within the space, um, taking that knowledge and helping to advise a company as they're uh, building something. The other, so then it's like long term incentives that match against, say, like specialized contribution to where I can be the most helpful for. for the growth of a company. Um, Often when I build out that package, it's four pillars, which are strategy, network, um, and like a public endorsement or support, and then like social media amplification and platform there. And so we'll look at those four pieces and think about kind of how we can tie those all together to help a project go from 0 to 1 or 1 to 100, or from wherever they are and the problems they need to solve to over that. And I will say, some of it, right, is like taking experience and applying that, and that experience is both successes and failures. And I've got plenty of those under my belt, unfortunately, and partly from just trying to um, build through the bear some projects that didn't work out, um, and so taking those learnings, both what worked and what didn't, you know, at an individual level, and thinking about looking at the current state of the market and attention and sentiment. How do we try and break through and take the custom inputs of this project and get to the goals that we need to for where they're trying to go in this moment. So yeah, that's kind of the advisor role that I built out. And then often we can add on like services as like kind of a distributed agency. Occasionally there's like specific ambassador roles, or maybe they don't need all four of those. And so they might pick one or two of those pillars to work on together. So it's very pliable, just because everybody's needs are different.
Right.
But that's really the base of how I thought of it, which is, how do I kind of embed within a team, have a say at really hopefully speaking toward the best chance of success. Kind of use what I know and who I know to really help them win, and then find an aligned incentive, which is usually again like some mix of equity or tokens, long term token investing, to really to make that something where we're both running toward the same goal.
Right. Yeah, I think one thing that many people look over is, do you know like the pitfalls to avoid, and have you failed yourself? Have you seen the other people fail? Like, I think that is probably the most valuable. I think it's very easy to like look at a company and say, all right, like this is what customers want, this is what they'll pay for, and run towards it. But there are so many unknowns if you haven't done it before. That like I know projects will make or founders might make. Uh, so I think you highlighting that's a great point. Um, in the world of stuff you're not touching, there's new stuff popping up on the timeline every day. Um, Notably, there was, oh my god, I'm drawing a blank on the Time Company. It was like you could
Oh
buy
yeah,
people's
timed out fun.
Time.Fun. We saw, another one that was like a competitor to Yaps, and Cato, which was, it was
Oh,
Quack,
wall chain,
Wall
quacks,
Chain,
yeah.
and some others. I saw you retweet and talk about those. I'm curious on the new things that are emerging, anything that kinda grabs your attention. Those 2, obviously, they have. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, timed out fun's interesting. I haven't signed up for it yet, but it's not that different of a model than, say, when you're a consultant, really how you think about kind of valuing time and your contribution and like how to piece that together. They just chose to put it kind of on an open market where if that goes up or down, like it's tradable and redeemable. And I do think it's like super interesting for um, founders and operators and uh, creators. There and we've seen Web 2 models for that in the past. Like I think Alexis Ohanian backed one that was like you could basically kind of book like 15-minute sessions. And I remember there was one where Nikita Beer, who was thinking about launching a meme coin, he's like the king of viral apps. And it was like $1,000 for like 15 minutes or something. People were like freaking out, like that's like way too much. And then at the same time, like if he can help you solve a user acquisition problem and think about how to get your app to the top of the store, like that's invaluable, right? And so if he has a specialty and can share that with you in like a really compressed amount of time, then his time should be highly valuable. And if you want to make it, if he wants to make it tradable, time not fun. And so like I think it was Solana co-founder like was one of the first, and I think their market cap on their time went up to something like 8 million or 6 million. I'm trying to remember what we saw. Um, and then we've seen like social currency, social tokens um, try and run before. And actually, one of the projects that I worked on during the bear was trying to do a similar thing with like um, NFTs that would give access to creator like chats and calls and tutorials and things like that. Whether it's like a gamer, an athlete, or an artist. So I've kind of seen that idea and played around with it. So that's going to be interesting. Um, yeah, Kaito's running, and so it's not surprising that there are other projects that are like also interested in trying to think about what they call infofi and like the social intelligence and how do we apply that to um, kind of good actors and conversation leaders. And I think we see like
Yep.
cookie.com that's trying to really tackle that as well, where it was like projects that do airdrops, helping them understand like who are the real people, but also the real positive, um, kind of net positive people, and maybe the opposite of that is like the shame fi wall of shame stuff that we've seen on AVAX, where if you like sold your Wink allocation, you get like blocked from other pre-sales later. Um, so it's kind of funny. I think big picture, like everyone's just trying to solve that. Like we know that influencer marketing, when done well, is extremely effective. And there's been, studies done that it's like something like 10x ROI for like budget that's deployed toward really good influencer marketing compared to, like say a traditional channel, and that's like pre Web3. Um, and also like because of how financialized our space is, it is really frustrating to see like, the cabal insider KOL like um uh, narrative where it's like the risk of non-disclosed deals, of pump and dumps and rugs and all that. And so and even like a lack of conversion, right? Which is a conversation I've been seeing in like the Web3 gaming space, which is like, okay, you could pay a KOL to kind of talk about your game and they could disclose it. Does it convert to actual players? Does it convert to long term, whether it's lifetime spend of your players or new active users and all that. Like if the metrics aren't working, we need to rethink kind of how we're uh
Do you do you think that that is the best approach to growth for like new products, whether that's a game or protocol or a product, like is going like the cabal, not maybe not cabal, but like the influencer people of tastemakers of the space, or is that conversion just not there enough? Or I'm curious, like what if you
yeah.
were advising a company, like what you would tell them to do, especially even like right now. I think that's helpful.
Yeah, I mean I did influencer marketing in Web 2. And then when I came out of Web 3, like that was something that I was really, interested in kind of how it applied within, this specific application. Um, I'm still a believer in influencer marketing done right is extremely powerful. And the reason it's powerful is because the whole point of an influencer is that they have influence over a certain demographic. And so if you're finding the right people who are, even like KOL is key opinion leader, right? And my understanding is that kind of came more out of Asia as like the acronym that they use for influencer marketing. But someone who's either leading the opinion or has sway and influence to people who are going to be the final customers of your product. um, if you can get them on board natively and ethically and have them you know sharing their product with their audiences, like it should convert at a higher signal and a higher ROI than just like a radio ad to, millions of
Right.
people that are like kind of untargeted. Um, but again, like how you identify who are the good right influencers, how you cut through botted followings or low engagement followings, how you structure your campaigns for um calls to action and conversions and all that stuff. Like those are all kind of marketing science that I think sometimes gets left behind, and it's just like there's lazy influencer marketing, which is like, oh, let's just find the biggest Twitch user and like throw $1 million at them and like whatever. Um, is it going to convert? Like, not necessarily. And there's a difference between, say, brand marketing and like performance marketing, where brand marketing you're working on awareness, and that's when like Coke and Coca Cola and whoever else, like Apple and also like they can pay to just kind of like be a logo on a
Be
jersey or
top of
whatever. Like,
mind.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever the Olympics and stuff. And so I think a lot of brands try and go for brand marketing when they really need performance marketing. And by performance marketing, it's you got to measure like what's the conversion for downloads or purchases or signups or all that stuff. And the big picture on the marketing side is like you get what you measure for, right? And so if you build a KOL campaign, it's like we want followers, likes, retweets, clicks, whatever it is, like you measure that stuff and you're gonna like optimize for it. And if you measure for the wrong things, um, you're gonna get things that you don't want, right? And so I think there's a lot of kind of poorly run campaigns, and it's less. I just don't view that as like a problem with the concept, which is like there's this new media world where young people listen to a different type of um, voice. And it used to be, you read the New York Times or you go on slate.com, whatever, or you
Right.
K95, whatever, like there were, and before there was like magazines and glossy ads or whatever. Now it's like Instagram, whatever ads and stuff. So like you have to evolve your channels to meet people where they are, right? And if
Mm.
we have very highly digital audiences and kind of like you know um crypto sophisticated customers that we want to reach, like we've got to go to where those voices are. But we got to do it in a way that's trustworthy, we got to do it in a way that's compliant, and we need to do it in a way that converts. And um certainly we've seen plenty of campaigns in the industry that have fallen flat for any of those reasons. And not to mention whatever's going on behind the scenes that's being uncovered that was sketchy as well. So, I mean, I'm obviously biased here because it's partly how I work, but like, yeah, I
Right.
still believe in the power of influence. Because it's so powerful, I think like that's why there is such a an interest in like the disclosures and like understanding um, you know, who's involved with what. So, um, it's still like one of the core strategies that I'll recommend to a go-to-market plan that I'm building out with a client. But it's not the only, obviously. And one of the ways that we think about it in the industry is like um, paid, owned, shared, and earned. Those are like four different channels that are often used within like marketing and comms. And your owned is like your blog or your company social. Shared is like kind of like your community, your fall, viral moments. Earned is like PR and like kind of earned media mentions, or even just like you know word of mouth and stuff like that.
Right.
And then that's like shared and earned. And then paid obviously is like advertising and brand deals and things like that. So um yeah, you really want to kind of line up across those channels, which ones are going to be the most effective based on the resources you have, and think about, how to really, it takes a few mentions, right? Like for, like you might see a paid thing, you might see an organic, thing, you might see the company's own content and you just kind of like it hits you enough times, you're like, I should go check that out, and I'll take a look. I'm gonna sign up for it. I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna,
Yeah.
you can get there. So it's, I think, yeah, pretty much every industry has its own form of this right now. They just you have to customize it.
It's dynamic too for us, I think, because no one thing is the same. Like, I think if you're going to a CPG company, it
Right.
is like that playbook's been written pretty clearly, and it's okay. Well, how is our campaign going to differ from like a creative standpoint? But
Mhm.
we know exactly where our demographic is consuming their content. We understand exactly who they are and what else they're buying, and it's a little bit more straightforward. Where we're in a emerging category of okay, well, where exactly and how exactly do I get across to, if you're for abstract, for example, how are they defining like how they're going to onboard and what does that look like? It's a little bit more complex.
Right.
Um, and that's the first kind of like consumer chain that we've seen come out. It's way different than, your play to earn chain or your
Mhm.
fat high frequency transaction chain. Like that it's just very different and you're going to a different niche. Um, I guess on that top, have you been using abstract at all? First impressions, thoughts there?
Yeah. Minted a few NFTs, played a couple games on there. Yeah, they're in an interesting challenge, which is like with a real stated goal for onboarding. Like they're trying to make with Abstract Global Wallet a very onboard friendly experience for what we call normies or non crypto natives. But I know that Saigar was saying, one of the devs, that it was a little confusing to kind of degens who were like used to the custodial wallets, and they like there was some confusion there, and so they're working on how they think about that, spotlight portal, and you know making sure that it's clear, like you can do on abstract what you can do on other EVM chains, which is like the full kind of um, self custody experience. But there's also a bit of hand holding if you want to take the kind of AGW route. Um, so yeah, I think it hasn't come out. I mean, I say this as an investor, obviously, so I'm like bag bias here, but like it hasn't come out and like I think blown everyone away with like, wow, there's like tons of liquidity and it's the second coming of NFTs and everything's at like, 2 ETH or whatever. Obviously, we're seeing like on-chain heroes do well, and a few other projects. But I think it's a really smart team that has like long term and really good intentions. And an incredible brand behind it with like Pudgy Penguins and some of what they're building. And so, um, obviously, it's something I'm betting on and continue to use. I think the XP is interesting. They're keeping it dynamic and really trying to minimize like blatant farming and really reward just native use on the chain. So it
Yep.
seemed like yesterday, like people who've been playing on Chain Heroes got a bunch of XP for that. I don't know anything about the rewards there, but assume that down the road that's going to be um, something worthwhile. And so uh, I think if they can just keep bringing in great teams to build on the chain, and then um, keep rewarding like community growth and activity, like it should be a really cool place to play around in.
Yeah. I think from like a you can be too early in this space.
Hmm.
And I think abstract to an extent, the average consumer, the natural consumer of, gaming, the natural consumer of stream consumption, uh they are in a weird position of like having to be the onboarder not only to their chain but to crypto overall and this experience and getting them comfortable and again finding these people who might not have ever touched a wallet before. um but I think also their infrastructure, the foundation for what can be a really unique place for having in-stream shopping, in-stream trading, in-stream even prediction markets. I know
Yeah,
Myriad's over there. Like I joked with some people while I was in Paris. I was like, hey, like this is a open sandbox. Why can I not watch the US hockey game stream or somebody, commentating on it. And in real
Mm,
time on the side, I can just, oh, you know what? This guy has a great point. USA is going to make a comeback here. Place a prediction bet. And that's sports, but you could do that for poker. You could do all for all this interesting
mhm.
stuff. Um, but
Yeah,
when you start,
are you streaming to Abstract right now, or are you just on Twitter?
I just realized, I keep doing this. I have to, they do the, they
Yeah,
keep
turn the
changing the stream
RTMP or
keys.
something. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. When they make a dedicated stream key, I'll be so happy. I noticed that I
Yeah,
keep,
because you can get XP and
yep,
yeah, that'll be. I do think streaming is one of the really interesting pieces to what they've built. And again, it's an attention game. If they can get people watching and engaging and playing around, and I think Myriad is smart. And it's a real nice extension of the kind of media kingdom that they've already been building over at Destin. So yeah, some really interesting stuff there.
yeah. No, no, Loxley and Farouk and everybody involved there absolutely crushing it. Got to meet some of the team in Paris as well that I hadn't
Nice.
met before, and, I can tell people, if you haven't already, go check out Myriad, go check out, Rug Radio, what they're doing at, Decrypt, and everything they're touching is just phenomenal. They really have hit a home run on their ecosystem. Um, I wanna maybe circle back from Abstract. That's, again, another portfolio venture of yours, and it's something new. Um, and we kinda did jump into the area of, like, hey, what is getting your attention that's new coming out? Um, but I think from, like, a market perspective, the market the last 24 hours, 48 hours
Mm.
hasn't been the most fun place. Um and even even the last 40 minutes of us having this conversation,
Oh no.
I was like, "There's no way this guy doesn't have a chart up right now because it's not great." The market, Bitcoin dropping from 88,000 down to 84,000,
Oof.
uh, taking off 5% since this stream started, so maybe not the best stream for, people watching, from a financial perspective, but I'm curious to get your take on how you're navigating the a shift away from the casino, and obviously in these moments of turmoil, blood in the water, how your experience is guiding you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, um, something I've been thinking about is like casinos are fun to go to, they're not fun to live in, right? Which is like once you've been in like in the trenches for too long, it's like your eyes are all bloodshot and you're like just unhealthy and like you stop having fun. And so like finding a way for people to say like, "Hey, I want to be a DJ and I want to play with some risk. I want to experience the thrill of some of this stuff." You know, like even like Dave Portnoy was saying on a video today, he's like, "I don't want to leave the trenches. They're fun, right? I'm not making any money here because he's like putting it all in the jail stool, but he enjoy like there's a thrill to it that he also gets from draft fantasy, whatever else he's doing. But like, and stock market. So like, casinos are fun, um, when regulated well, and when in small doses, a weekend here or there, or like as a hobby. And so I think, like I had a ton of fun on Pump Fun and on Solana and with meme coins. Um, Took some losses, took some wins, like, I think probably net up, but also, like, um, do I want that to be, like, where I make my living or, like, where I spend 16 hours a day? Like, absolutely not, and so, um, we're seeing a correction, and, like, some of it is just something's fun, and then there's, like, extraction that gets built out around it, and so it's, like, the people who are deploying, like, thousands of pump funds and like crashing the bonding curves like or like the migrations every single time like that's extraction and the numbers on kind of where it's all gone um are terrifying as far as like if you're not careful like liquidity just um goes toward the people with like the strongest intention and we saw a couple mass extraction events in recent weeks so I'm not like doomsday about it all. Like obviously it's tough to uh look at your bags and be like, okay, I'm down 20% like today, like that sucks, and that's like 5 days in a row or something, like that's awful. And I think we all, like, those of us who've been around a few cycles, we're always like, okay, we are going to take profits, we're going to stop round tripping, and then we just like it's going to go higher, and then it's like it's going to go back up, and then it's like now it's in the dumps. Um, so that's all like absolutely real stuff. But yeah, I think that I'd be hopeful that we can see this stuff recover because I don't think the fundamentals have changed, and it's also like there's all the like doomsday posts are like, whatever, major token has returned to prices we haven't seen since like September 2024. And it's like, okay, all right, I think we're gonna be like, if it's just September, then like, that's fine. Now if you start going farther back and we're back down at like, we won't talk about that.
Let's pray. Let's
So
pray we don't see those numbers again for a long
yeah.
time.
So who knows? I mean, I've seen people say like the bull is over. I've seen people say the bull hasn't even started. So like, who knows? We're just in the middle of one cycle. Um, we saw like 3 or 4 black swans in a row back in 2022. Whether it was like Luna, FTX, a few other things, but like, um, so we've written it out. I was like, I got wiped out in 2018 with like, altcoins and just absolute kind of winter. And so yeah, it's a bit of the first time meme where it's just like, okay, we're
First time
try not to
here,
look at the
yeah.
charts. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You could make the
So
argument though that we have seen some black swans the last month and a
sure,
half,
yeah,
right? Like Trump, Melania, then Libra, then the tariff stuff, then the Bybit like
yeah,
there have been some really like, hey, this is a once in 4-year thing, once in
yeah.
10-year
Bybit's the
thing.
black spot. I mean, black swan is like what 1.4, 1.5 billion is. One of the largest crypto hack in history, right? So there's definitely something terrifying about that. Although, I think someone made a good point, which is like in terms of the total percentage of the asset, it's still smaller than whatever the rollback was when the Dow hack back in the day. So like, um, I think every cycle that we survive as an industry makes it more likely that this will endure, as a technology, as a product, as like a consumer behavior. Um, and so at some point, there's going to be volatility. There's going to be ups and downs, just like there is in any space. Um, so I'm not, I haven't like triggered the liquidation buttons to just go full stable, but I'm not the best person to follow on that because I tend to wait a little longer than I should. So yeah, I guess because I continue to be a believer in like the tech and the community, like very little of that has changed in the last few weeks. Um, Prices go up, they get a little, run away with themselves, and they come back down. And some things will get wiped out just because um, people move on, or maybe there wasn't substance there to begin
Right.
with. But it's meme coins especially. It's a tough game to play because um, you don't have a lot to fall back on. Like if the meme moves on, the community moves on, like it could go to zero.
Yep. It's an attention
That's
game.
tough.
I mean, that's what meme coins
Yeah.
are. They are, does the attention stand? Do you have a meme coin that you're like, I don't care, this is my favorite?
Um. Shoot. No, I mean, what I guess whichever one is like, running,
A
whichever one has
momentum
the highest.
trader,
Yeah,
best smoke is a momentum trader.
yeah.
It's whatever's moving.
But it's like I you know I'll throw like half a soul at like stuff that makes me laugh, and so like someone threw me someone someone's like, hey, there's this fartnoid token. I was like, oh, that's funny. So I bought it and then like forgot about it. It went to zero, and then Portnoy bought it and it ran up, and I took out like um 10 or 15K or something off it, and I was like, oh, okay, like Sweet. It's one of those things that it's just funny, you forget about it, and you gotta catch it when it runs. I threw a little bit of broccoli on B and B, and like, it did all right. And then yeah, so it's but the fart jokes are funny, and just like this stupid animal stuff. I don't know. It's such a um you ever like try to explain what happened in your day to someone else, and they're just like, they just
I've
look at
stopped
you like you're
trying.
insane. Yeah, because
I've
we
stopped
we
trying.
are
I just
insane.
if
Yeah,
if they aren't actively in the space, I just don't try, whether it's a guy, a girl,
yeah,
adult, a kid. When people ask me what I'm up to for work or what's going on, just say, "Oh, it's good." That's it. I
yeah.
won't go deeper than that, or um, because we live in such a weird world
It is
when you
crazy.
actually get down to, like, what are we like, I mean, even that, you making 5 figures off of Fartnoy is literally a made up token that is a joke about a fart and Dave Portnoy.
Yeah.
How do you explain that without sounding insane?
No, we are insane.
But a good
But
way. I'd
we're
rather be
insane
doing this
together.
than a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Um,
Everything's absurd if you stop and zoom out enough and just think about our modern life. That's my excuse for like, okay, we'll just buy the fart tokens. But yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, Josh, I gotta thank you for the time today. If there's anything that you want to shill, anything that you're like, hey, this is coming up, it should be on our radar. Would love to know if there's anything that we should be paying attention for, either out of your portfolio or things that you're just excited about.
Yeah, no, I mean, my show will be, I hope we all get Blub pre-sale this week, and we print. But and then don't end up on the wall of shame. But yeah, I mean, it's stay safe out there. Pump Fund got hacked today, the Twitter
Yep.
account, and it was like, they launched a fake token to 15 million, obviously Bybit with the safe um development machine hack or whatever. Like it's there's some scary stuff out there. So everybody stay safe. Go visit the casino when you can, and touch grass when you need to. And I'll see you out there in the trenches. Have fun.
Amazing. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in today. If you aren't already, make sure you go and follow Josh Ong on Twitter. He obviously shares insightful tweets and always on top of the new stuff coming out. Josh, thank you once again, and thanks for making the 4-year anniversary of our first stream.
It's fun to run it back. Thanks for
Yeah,
having me.
dope, man. Thank you so much.